Okay guys, you've been saving your hard-earned money and you're gonna go out and get a Foxbody. You found one that's just beautiful. Price is somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. Everything looks great. You pop the hood, what do you see? You see that beautiful shaved engine bay you've always wanted. However, what's lurking beneath those panels? Is it hiding accident damage? Is it hiding rust? Was the metal prepared right? Follow along as I show you some of the problems I encountered on one of my cars that has a shaved engine bay. Hey guys, welcome back to Altered Stangs. So if you've been following along with the videos we've been making, I have a quick one of this green car, talks a little bit about it. So this car had a shaved engine bay and we're looking at it and it didn't look very good. You could tell it had lots of Bondo. It's pretty wavy. So I picked the spot, started kind of dissecting it. And what was done with this car was they took it down to bare metal, and I'm going to show you that in a second, and they just welded plates over top of it. So I started pulling it apart. You can see little bits of rust underneath. Now, thankfully, it wasn't perforated, just surface. But I'm just going to show you a little bit about it as we work through it. So this is what we're dealing with currently. And what we've got here are metal plates. And you can see the tack welds here, here, just a few tack welds here and there. And this is basically what they did, was just weld it over the holes and then smear Bondo until it met up with it. And so what was happening? What was happening, as you can see here, is I haven't touched any of this yet. I've done a lot of work in this area to get the Bondo off, but I haven't touched here where the big plates were. And as you can see in behind, because it wasn't prepped with any type of weld-through primer or any type of primer or anything, it was just left, it was starting to rust underneath these plates. So, you know, shaved engine bays look great, but it depends how it was done to know whether it's going to last the long term or not. So this car never sat outside. This was done in '99, and this car sat in the garage and was just never finished. And you can already see it starting. So, you know, if it was left out in the rain, snow, driven in the rain, who knows, right? Maybe water gets up in behind these holes, starts rotting it. And if you're looking at a shaved engine bay car, these are the things you need to take into consideration. Now, once again, it's very minor. You can hit that with the wire wheel or the abrasive pad that I'm working with, and that's gone. Yeah, this is another example of where there was a plate, and that's how it was behind it. I haven't touched it. So here's an example of what I keep finding, guys. This is our driver's side inner fender. And what they've done is there'd be a hole in behind here from the factory, and they've just taken a piece of metal and they've tacked it in a couple of spots, put some mud over top of it, sanded it down, and called it a day. So as I'm buffing it out to bring it back to stock, I find these, I've got to break the welds, pull the piece out, and just continually grind our Bondo out. All right, guys, so here's our plate. Another one of our plates coming off. You'll see them behind it. Because the metal was not prepped in any way, moisture's gotten behind there. We just have a little bit of surface rust, so it's not going to mean anything to this car. I mean, you could practically wire wheel that off and have no issue. But if this car was left, who knows what would happen to it. And this amount of Bondo, you know, that's going to start to rust. The Bondo is probably going to start to push out or crack, or both. I think if I was going to do it to keep it long term, I think I would weld up each individual hole and smooth it out with a belt sander, and then I would prep the metal and have it painted. I think that's how I would do it anyway. I haven't done it. I've had a couple cars that were done before I got them. Okay guys, I'm right beside the previous plate we took off. I'm working here and we just took off this plate where I just showed you a little bit about what's going on. So check out this one. This is a lot better of an example. So I've just ground off the top welds. I bent the plate over so you can see, and we're gonna peer in here. And see, somebody ground this down. You can see the grind marks. And they just left it bare metal. They had this tack welded in a few spots, and they just did it over top of metal that they ground and left it that way. And you can see the surface rust. In my opinion, that would have led to some future problems for sure. So it's a good thing we're getting it out of here. So for long term, I don't believe this is the way to do it. I would think welding it up and smoothing it out would be the way to go, and then metal prep and paint. You gotta watch out for these cars out there with the shaved engine bays. If you're paying a lot of money for a shaved engine bay car, it might be nice to have some pictures of what was done to it, the whole process. If not, you could be really taking a gamble on that $20-some thousand Foxbody. Some prices reaching into the 30s now. You don't know what's under that paint, and it could turn into a problem. So we're gonna get all this out of here. Like I said, we're gonna clean it up, we're gonna prep it right, we're gonna get it painted, put it back to stock, and hopefully the next owner will have it for a long time without any issues. Okay guys, so there's the first one I showed you. This is the next one I showed you, and this is another plate here, and it's the same thing underneath. Not that I would expect anything different. Ground down metal, starting to rust, and just that plate welded on top of it. So I say be careful out there. These cars aren't cheap anymore, and if you're spending a whole lot of money on your dream car, this is something that could be a potential issue. So hopefully this information will prove to be helpful to somebody down the line, and when they're buying that car, maybe you can get some pictures of how it was done, or some video or something that shows how the work was done and what they did to prep it, preserve it. All right guys, just one more example. So this is our airbox hole, one of the mounting holes, and you can see they just put a plate over it, tack welded it, no prep, and it's just starting to rust a little bit behind the seam. Just another example of how some cars were done. Here's our rad support, and we've got patches covering up the factory holes in the rad support. Just wanted to show you guys a little bit more of what I've been dealing with on this car. I'm gonna get those knocked off there. And okay guys, here's the tabs on the rad support again. Didn't take very long to knock them off. As you can see, like I said, with these welded on plates, no metal prep, things are starting to rust, which is going to cause rust here. So luckily, this is only surface rust, and there's not actually very much on the car in these spots. So we'll get this blasted, we'll get it metal prepped, painted. All right guys, our rad support is really starting to shape up now. That's really starting to look like it should. All right YouTube, still working on this green car, and just wanted to show you guys another example of these patches. So there's a patch welded in there, and see how thick the Bondo is? Because now they've had to go over top of the patch and the spot weld and smooth it out. So that's what I'm dealing with on this car. I don't know if you can see how deep that is. It's actually quite deep. This shock tower is the last of it, so I've just got to get digging at it. From what I can see behind the tower, there's a few more patches I'm going to have to knock out. Okay guys, so I've got that patch knocked out, still kind of hanging there so you can see. And I haven't touched the metal in behind that. So there's large scratch marks of the unprepped steel, and you can see where it's just starting to rust. So this car hadn't been driven since this work was done. It was left in a garage. So what I could imagine is if this car got driven, the water would splash up into this hole, would actually get in around the back of this plate, and then this little bit of rust here would start to get a lot worse. Like I say, if you don't know how the engine bay was shaved, you really don't know what's hiding under that paint. So if you're paying a lot of money for one of these Foxbodies and the engine bay is shaved, just keep in mind it could be a problem in the future. Alright guys, it's been a lot of work, but our factory shock tower is starting to look proper again. Here we are, everything's in really great shape, and I'm excited to get this car to paint and get it back and get it assembled. Alright, so it's a while later. Been busy with the engine bay today, and I'm working on the firewall. As you can see, I've been trying to get these little notches back, which is where that seal goes to seal the hood up. So these were all filled in with Bondo, and I can just make them out. I'm going to show you guys. When you're up this close to it, you can see the Bondo and you can see the outline of these holes. So this is what I've been doing to get them back. And it takes them out pretty quick. So they just had some tape in there to seal that up. All I'm using is an arbor on the end of the drill and an abrasive pad to clean this up. It's making really quick work of it. Just another piece of tape back there. Something else that's just going to get wet and cause rust at some point. So we'll get rid of all this stuff. I'm going to sell this car, so this thing should be great for the next owner, and they should have it a long time, hopefully with no issues. That's what we're working on. So it's taking me no more than a few minutes with that abrasive pad, and we've got all of our notches back. So here you can see our shock tower still got a beautiful factory seam. Now, there was a little bit of surface rust just right here, but it doesn't look to have perforated anywhere here because you can still see the factory spot welds, and everything's really nice. So we'll get that blasted, we'll get it coated, we'll get it painted up gloss black, and should look pretty good. There's a mark here. I think maybe the car has been in a fender bender at some point. Wouldn't think it'd be very serious. We still have the original buck tag for the car attached to the rad support. So that's as much work as I'm going to do to the engine bay. My body guy is going to take care of the rust. And we even went at the rad support and got all the factory holes back. Off to the body shop, and we'll make some more videos on the car once it comes back. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification. And remember what we say here at Altered Stangs, leave no Stang unaltered.